they can definitely give me a product which I will be satisfied with, and I know my customer will be satisfied. So that I do from time to time.
How many of these you've made? Because they're only going to eat one, drink one at a time. Now, if the quality is not good enough, and I think this is an important message to Good day, everybody. Welcome to Free Range Excellence. We've got a very special guest today, Andries van Wyk. Andries, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good day.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
It's an honor to have you here. Andries is a very special person. He's an entrepreneur, and he's also an owner of a coffee shop. So Andries, welcome, and thank you for bringing some very nice coffee.
Of course, thank you so much.
From Ground Central. So it's lovely coffee. I'll have a lot of this. Thank you. But before we start, we've got a tradition at Free Range Excellence, and that's for the guests to select between a raw egg and a boiled egg. And you get to break the egg against my head at the end of the program. Now, it's got no significance whatsoever, and I'll explain a little bit later on when we get there. But you get to choose between these two eggs. We're going to mark it because I've got the tendency to forget which one, because I'm just old, you know. So which one do you choose? And then we'll mark it before we get going.
Let's get this one.
That one. All right. Jeez, I hope it's not, because the previous,
the
previous two was raw. I don't know. I put it in, but I don't know. We just mark it. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. So, Andries, you've had an interesting journey so far. To have a successful coffee shop just didn't have happen overnight. You had to do a lot of things, change a lot of things. Tell us a little bit about your journey, man.
Right. So basically, I started off as in the working environment as a sales consultant, working at the hardware and paint industry for about 9 years. So it gave me a lot of exposure to different kinds of personalities, different people, different businesses, and how they operate their business. Considering that every hardware store, there was a lot of competition in the hardware industry, going onto the reps consulting side. So I spent a lot of time on the road, driving places to place, where I just didn't feel the satisfaction anymore after that long time, where I started listening to audiobooks, because you don't want to waste your time driving and just listening to music and radio. So
you're not developing much there.
No, not at all. So I tended to listen to audiobooks, business books.
Nice.
Of course, we all started at Rich Dad, Poor Dad, going on to Eric Ries and Simon Sinek. So those books really gave me a different perspective towards life and what we're here for and why do we do what we do. And that just made me realize that I need to, there's more than life than what I'm doing at the moment. So saying that, the companies I worked for, they really looked after us. It's not that, it was just a personal growth where you don't, you need the growth phase.
So there's a bit of a disclaimer there for your previous employer, just to make sure that you don't burn bridges.
Yeah, no, I've got to say they really looked after us. But yeah, going forward, where do you see yourself in the future? And I just didn't see myself doing what I was doing all that time. So yeah, then going to different places, drinking coffee. I love coffee and the way they make it. It really it opened my eyes to that kind of business, and you could identify that opportunity. So going from shop to shop, town to town, you really you learn different tastes, and I always thought of doing it myself, and going into the business side of things from employee to entrepreneurial mindset, it makes you, it really opens doors. Talking to different coffee shop owners, got a lot of advice on that, and then just one day bit the bullet, and yeah, went to the coffee venture.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And now today you've been quite a couple of years that
yeah,
you've been in the coffee making
it's-
industry and coffee roasting industry.
yes. So going on to that, it's about 5-6 years, which I'm
Yeah, that's
into that now,
Mm.
and there's still a lot to learn. But I think what we've established at this point, it's quality over quantity, definitely.
Listen, and so it's a big step to move from an employee to a full-time entrepreneur. Obviously, financial challenges and all those challenges comes along with it. But what are the two things that you'd say that makes your business different? What differentiates your business from other coffee shops? I mean, there are lots and lots of different coffee
Yes.
shops.
Considering the amount of coffee shops and restaurants there is in any area, um, I think what just puts you in a different mindset. It's always thinking of why do you want to open a coffee shop? Why do you want to do that? Um, I for one I don't like bad coffee, so it's trying to get the best quality coffee that you can produce with the tools you've got. So it's creating an excellent product, which you will be satisfied and know your customer will be happy with. Being personally involved in the shop, um, you have to know what's going on over your whole system. So, for example, I roast my own coffee beans. I jump in behind the counter when it's needed. I mix batter in the kitchen, and of course, your customer experience. You have to treat them with respect, and having the right staff. There's a lot of baristas in the world, but um, you have to respect your customer because they are the reason that we can do what we need to. Um, they give feedback. If you respect them, they will respect you enough so they can give you feedback on your product, so you know where to improve on.
So it's fair to say you've actually become your own biggest critic customer, because if you're satisfied with your product, then
Yeah.
the assumption is that your people that you serve the coffee to will be
Yeah.
satisfied as well.
Yes, I would say that because there's a lot of bad products in the world where they don't care. They just want to do the turnover and get the quantities out. But focusing on the quality, it's definitely
So it's called Ground Central. Where does the name come from?
so. Yeah, we've always enjoyed appreciated the systems of the underground rail, the subway system. Everything works on clock. It works every day. It's efficient. It's quick. You know what you're getting when you're getting onto the subway.
Of course, you're not talking about South Africa.
No, of course not. No, that's definitely.
This is now a different country. You're
They,
referring to
yeah, I know.
the
They were,
States, I suppose, Ground
yeah.
Central in the States. Okay.
So there's both. You get the Grand Central in America or New York, and then Underground in London. And because they work so efficiently, you need a specific coffee ground in a specific way in order to create and get a good product out of your coffee machine.
And consistently so.
Consistently.
So your processes have to be in place. You have to deliver the same product time and time again, because people, customers are finicky like yourself.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I love a very good coffee, and one of the reasons why you're sitting here is because I respect the type of coffee, the quality of coffee that you're making.
Yeah.
I'm a cappuccino guy, really, but I enjoy good coffee.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is how we connected, because you are providing a good product. Now, obviously, you had to go through changes and you had to review your business a few times. The two biggest changes that you had to make in this 5-6 years that you've been busy, what are those changes?
Sure. Well, always look at what you're doing, because you know why you're doing it. In order to stay ahead of your customer, you always expect feedback from them, so you know what to work on. You have to look at new products, expanding new lines, if test products. If it doesn't work, try it differently. So it's always trying to create and establish new customers with different products. Depends on where you are, what your client base is. So basically, what we're doing is I'm roasting my own coffee because the machine I have is quite old and it's not electronically. It's all analog systems, and you have to test with a lighter. So the system, it's complicated to teach someone.
But it's real. It's the real deal.
Yes,
That's how you roast coffee.
You feel coffee. You don't roast it. You feel where you are at
Fantastic.
the phase. That I know it's very important to get a good. When you start with a good product, a good ingredient, you know the end result will be the same.
And I've seen the passion that this guy has to roast his own coffee. It's a process. It's by no means an easy process. I will bugger it up quite easily. But watching you roasting your own coffee is really, it's poetry in motion almost. Now, you've also done a couple of absurd things, if we can call it absurd. You've combined ice cream in a coffee shop, which is not typically a place where you find ice cream. Why?
It's almost like fire and ice. With coffee being a very high commodity, which you need the product. Ice cream, or what I've done now is I've had an idea of collaborating with a different company, which creates the gelato. It's not ice cream; it's completely different.
Okay.
It's a very good quality product. So by having a good product complementing, well, in contrast with coffee, you can give your customer hot days, you can give them nice milkshakes, gelato, and cold days, coffee, and everything that goes with that. So it's having that fire and ice contrast.
And that brings me to, and you also started making some of your own brownies and cinnamon buns, and we'll talk a little bit later on that. I think you brought some for us to show. But I'm just thinking, when we spoke about the changes that you've made, and will continue to make, is you scan the environment, your customers. You always check for what are the things that the customer will need without them even knowing it. And I mean, the ice cream has become part of your product offering. So typical classifications that drive these changes would be things. The guys talk about the 4 triggers of change, which are environment, business relationships. You've spoken about those. Technology, people. The 3 dynamics which guys talk about for strategic change. Again, environment. Then one of the things that I'd like us to talk a little bit more about, lifecycle differences, political power changes inside your organization. Lifecycle differences. How much impact did that have on the environment in which you operate your coffee shop?
Yeah, so it depends on where you are in the life cycle. The growth phase is definitely in all dynamics, from your customer to your research and development, your product, your service. That is, it almost always have to stay in your growth phase, because if you don't look at new innovative ways to do business and to adapt to your environment, you need to grow and keep on growing, like a building blocks. So you need to know what your customer wants and always adapt. Once you start getting into your maturity phase, it can easily spill over to going into the decline phase. So once that happens, your business, you need to start looking at something else.
So, and we'll put that slide up around it. There are different tools to analyze, obviously, the environment in which you operate, to make those assessments, and we'll put that up as well. Customer analysis. You spoke about environmental basics. Where are you situated? How many feet do you have? You obviously consider a smaller footprint compared to the pricing that you pay per square meters. Something that a mall, for example, will bring you a lots of feet, but you have to always balance up your expenses versus what do you profit, the profit level or margins that you're making. So things like the turbulence in the market. I know, for example, there's a opposition that moved in right opposite yourself. Then things like the pestle analysis, political, economic, social, cultural, technological, and legal analysis. So those are the things that you take in consideration as well. We spoke about industry lifecycle. We'll zoom into that a little bit more in depth. The key factors for success, the things that will make you successful, obviously profit will make you, as an indication. But I think customer satisfaction is also right up there. 5 forces analysis, 4 links analysis, competitor analysis, all those things are tools. But the interesting one for me is that you've mentioned that you've moved through different phases in your business. And obviously when you start up, there's a lot of things that you have to consider, and we'll put that slide up as well so that people can see the different phases that you spoke about. But the one that I just quickly want to talk about, your company strategy, overall strategy, where you've obviously looked to provide a special product to your customer. You've enhanced that product through time. Obviously, you've increased the quality, made sure that you control the quality as best as you can by roasting your own coffee beans. Not a lot of research and development now going on in coffee, but you've moved that research and development into other products.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. That you've adjusted according to what you think you should be doing next. So your coffee shop, you reckon, if we look at your coffee shop, at which phase do you think between introduction, growth, maturity, and decline phase, where would you say you are at this point in time?
Well, over those sectors, I would say I'm in the middle of growth and maturity because, like I said earlier, you can never stop growing your business. It's all about managing your risk. If you have a food display full of product, and every day you have to throw away half of that because we bake fresh in shop, which also makes us different. It's we use good ingredients. You can taste those ingredients in your product, but also managing your losses. Because if you it's profit you throw away if you make it look nice and full, but you need to look at those risks where you are.
And each one of these products probably have its own unique process to get it. I mean, to bake a brownie versus to make a cup of coffee. Beans will last a little bit longer than the ingredients for the brownie, etc. The brownie itself.
Yeah.
So each one has got its own shelf life almost. And then each one of those, you don't want to overbake. So you have to adjust the whole time to make sure that you keep just enough, not too much.
Yes.
So that obviously takes time as well. So here's the question for you. If you introduce a new product, you have to actually start off with the introduction phase right from the beginning again. So you might find your coffee is in a maturity phase because it's established, the processes are established, etc. Your whole supply chain is established. Whereas you introduce a new product, it's got a totally different, slightly different, depending on what it is, supply chain, life cycle, etc. And you almost have to drive each one of them through its own cycle, and then get to a point where you say, okay, it's now at maturity phase. I know how many I need to bake, etc. That I don't waste on the one hand, but on the other hand, that I have enough to meet my customer,
to meet the demand, and then that will just go back to the new product. Then that cycle starts
again. Yeah,
because you have to keep your customer occupied. You have to keep them interested.
Correct.
If you stagnate with your products that you have, customers get bored with that product. So by introducing new products, you start the process from scratch again, which keeps things interesting in business.
Yeah, and there's some interesting, and we'll put up the book on corporate life cycles. It explains, how you identify where you are at, and what are the things that you can do in order to drive towards the next phase. But also, I'm thinking about 3M, the company that's made
sticky notes.
Sticky notes, and how they got to make the sticky notes. So you have to reinvent yourself almost, not get rid of your existing products that works. Obviously, the ones that don't work, you get that out. But you continuously reinvent yourself to bring in new products where and as you can, listening to your customer the whole time, staying in tune with your customer, you being your biggest customer yourself, making sure that the quality meets your expectation, your high expectations. You've decided to keep some of the processes in-house, like roasting your coffee. Typically, coffee shops, your pop-up coffee shops, they don't do their own roasting. They obviously buy it in. You've decided to not do that, but there are certain things that you are outsourcing, especially in some of the different products. I mean, you don't make your own ice cream, as an example, but you make your own brownies.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the very nice cinnamon buns. What are the things that you consider when you contemplate insourcing versus outsourcing?
Yeah, it depends on your capacity. I would say, for example, the coffee roasting. A lot of the coffee shops buy the coffee beans in from different roasters. For me, it's about your environmental changes. For example, your coffee beans react differently in different weathers, humidity, wind. So when I'm roasting my own beans, I know how to adjust and what to adjust in order to achieve my result I want in my coffee, in my cup. That I can control in a certain aspect. Things I can't control, it's gelato. It's not my business. So I enjoy the product. I know it's a good product. It complements my current products, and it creates an opportunity for the customers around me, as well as the businesses around me, because I'm in a food court, which don't have a lot of dessert on their menu. So the opportunity came up, and then that's why I've decided to outsource a good product where I don't have to carry the manufacturing risk as well as the losses. I mean, I can control my losses because I know what I need to order. What I don't sell, I need to taste. A product tasters. I'm managing my losses on that one.
That's probably part of my problem.
Yes, of course.
I'm too much of a taster.
Yeah, we're not eating our profits, we're managing our losses.
Yeah, and I must say, something that I've discovered is just a little bit of ice cream inside of a coffee or cappuccino is brilliant. It's a very nice taste to complement each other. You wouldn't think it, but it's one of those things. So I've looked at some of the things that you need to consider when you decide whether to insource, outsource. Obviously, cost efficiency. You've spoken about that. And we put the slide up so wannabe entrepreneurs can look at this, or entrepreneurs can also look at it. The cost efficiency is the key driver. One will obviously want to make sure that you make maximum profit, so that influences your decision to insource or outsource. Business reputation.
To look into the cost effectiveness, if I would to decide to make my own gelato, I have to invest in machinery, training in how to make it, ingredients, so it's stock holding. So for me, it won't be as cost effective to make it myself. That's why I prefer to outsource that, because it's both ways. The business can grow both ways. It's symbiotic.
Yeah, well, that's a smart outlook. You have to decide based on understanding the full business case of whether you insource, outsource. Makes 100%. So business reputation, that's something I think you've alluded to earlier. You want to rather roast your own coffee beans, because then you control that quality of coffee, because the coffee is only as good as the roasting, not necessarily the beans, because you get the beans from somewhere.
That also.
But the roasting, so you have to have a good bean to start off, but the roasting is the critical one.
Yeah.
To get you to that quality of coffee, which you want to control to provide consistency. The moment you buy something that hasn't got a good reputation, so you went for gelato because it's already got a good reputation. But then there are things like the brownies, the lovely brownies that you make, the buns that you make. That's, again, you control that because you've got reputation high up your priority list, or strategic priority list.
What makes me happy is when my consumer comes in and they tell me, listen, I've heard that your brownies are so good. I've heard you've got the coffee. So I don't want to tell the customer, listen, I've got the best brownies, or I've got the best coffee.
They must tell you.
I prefer that they tell me. And that's where the personality comes into your brand. It's you can control that, because if I make sure everything goes well and product quality is good, I know that my name will be that is who I am. So I put the personality into the
so it's part of the reputation. So it's not just the product, it's also the personality. People have to get to know you and understand your high level of quality expectations from yourself. Now, so cost efficiency, business reputation, and innovation is also something that you thrive on, because you want to be innovative. That's who you are. That's why you're an entrepreneur. The moment you outsource too much, then you lose the opportunity to be creative around. So you haven't outsourced brownies, you haven't outsourced the roasting, because you can still stay creative within that. But something like ice cream, you don't have to be creative. The flavors are already there. They're very good. So there's limited opportunity for innovation. So innovation is something that you would consider, obviously. From what I see and hear. Communication, collaboration, you spoke about that. I like that, because the communication, the two-way communication with your customers, your suppliers, etc., you keep that going, making sure that these guys keep on delivering a good product on time. But you also check from your customer regularly. You're interested in their feedback. Oh, am I providing a good brownie? And if not, you make your adjustment. The risk in having a coffee shop. Should we go there?
Okay.
So there's a high risk involved in being an entrepreneur. Let's not beat around the bush. But you've survived. I know some days it doesn't feel like it, but you've survived. I can tell you from an outsider looking into your business, it looks neat. It looks you've achieved a lot. Well done. But the risk of dealing with somebody that can't supply a good product, plus the risk of supplying somebody with I know you also supply other coffee shops with roasted beans. Sometimes that risk has to be managed. Just quickly, we spoke about capacity, touched on it a little bit. When you can't deliver, you've built in a business continuity plan. So you've got an alternative supplier. So you yourself are your main supplier for other coffee shops that you supply to. But then if you run out of capacity, you've got a backup plan. Just briefly tell me about that.
So the benefit of having to drive around from town to town, drinking different coffees, I've established my flavor profiles to a few coffee roasters too. So I do use one of them in case of big orders coming through, because my capacity, without compromising quality, I know what my capacity is. So the same as my coffee profile, I can go to one of my roasting companies. They can definitely give me a product which I will be satisfied with, and I know my customer will be satisfied.
Fantastic.
So that I do from time to time. Also, with the two business models that I wanted to spoke about a bit earlier. You have your coffee roaster that wants to supply everyone. His name and brand must be everywhere. He wants the quantity to be wherever you go. Where I try to focus on the quality side. I know it sounds a bit too theoretical, but when I supply my customers with coffee beans for their shop, I can't control the barista. So if the barista normally messes up the coffee, it all goes back to the brand. So I give my best product I can and do the training to the barista. But if they mess it up, I can just help them, but it won't compromise my brand, because I know what I give them, and I know what the product that will come out of that has to be.
That's an interesting consideration, and I just want to reiterate that at some point you have to make a decision between quantity and quality. So, and coffee is that typical. It's like ice cream as well. Anything that I think one eats, the quality is the first thing. It's it's not a fast food restaurant where you make hundreds of the same burger type of thing, and the one tastes like the other one, but it's nothing special about it. Whereas your coffee, the ice cream that you selected, the brownies that you make, the cinnamon buns that you now introducing to the market, they are all quality over quantity. For the obvious reason, it's something that you want to give to your customer that convince them of the quality, because they don't really care how many of these you've made, because they're only going to eat one, drink one at a time. Now, if the quality is not good enough, and I think this is an important message to our entrepreneurs out there, at some stage you're going to have to, depending on what the product is or the service is, you're going to have to decide between what you want to go for. Is it quality, quantity? Maybe both if you can. Ideally, you have to put as much out there to be profitable, but not at the risk of jeopardizing your quality. So I like that. That's very good advice. The question I have for you is for our viewers that's wannabe entrepreneurs, people that's just started up. What is that golden advice that you would want to give now that you're an experienced entrepreneur, taking that big leap from being a corporate employee to jump into the entrepreneur? What is that advice that you'd want to give people out there?
So you always have to remember why did you decide to go into your own business. My advice would say maybe don't do it. It's always a learning curve. I mean, you have to know why you're doing it in order to figure out how you're going to do it and what do you need to do it. stay focused. It's easy to lose focus, especially when the challenge comes. There's a lot of challenges every day, and you must try not to look into the challenge. Look into the challenge. For example, if you have a cash flow uh, finance difficult financing
Constraint.
constraint,
Let's call it.
then you will always look into your problem where you how am I gonna pay my suppliers? How am I gonna pay my staff? I need more income. And then you tend to lose your focus. You can't see new opportunities because you're so fixated on the problem. It's very easy. In theory, it's very simple, but do it in practicality. It's mentally draining because with everything going on, all the challenges, it's easy to lose focus. And it's nice to talk to different people and just to give you perspective on where you are at the moment, in order to stay motivated. So when I started, I tried to figure out, well, what does the customer want. I've created a minimum viable product. So it's to have a coffee and get it out in the market, and ask feedback. Use your personality to build rapport with your consumer. They will then tell you, listen, this is not right. Change this, do this. Then you take that advice, you build and you measure it, you learn from it, and you put on the next product. That way you stay innovative and get a good product, which your consumer would appreciate.
And if you're anything like me, I want the product to be perfect before I put it out there. What you're advising is, listen, get it out there. It's never going to be perfect. Get feedback as quickly as you possibly can. Review it as often as you have to in order to improve it.
Yeah.
But that way you stay focused, because you have to almost get yourself in hands-on, like yourself, hands-on, to understand exactly what the customer is wanting, because you need to make those final adjustments, or the finest adjustments, in order to enhance the product. Now, the interesting thing is the why, and I'm sure there's been a couple of mornings where you've asked yourself, like we all do, why on earth am I doing this? So the trick question for you is the reason why you got involved into this. What is the thing that actually gives you the kick?
I think the biggest thing is it's mine. I'm doing it for myself and for my family. There's always a saying, you can build a business and you can give it to your children if you're privileged, or if you survive. Where if you are an employee, you can't pass that employeementship to your children. So the biggest satisfaction, I'd say, is you're doing it for yourself. It's your risks. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth every worry. There's a lot of challenges, but if you can work through them, by all means.
And we've spoken about adversity intelligence in a previous podcast. So obviously going through this entrepreneurial process actually builds that ability to become more and more resilient. So the more hard times you've gone through, the stronger you get, and the challenges will always be there. It actually brings you to become more astute in handling these challenges and making sure that you overcome them. Now, we will put some slides on for the viewers out there to look at the coffee shop and some of the products that we have. But you've recently introduced something new. I had the privilege of enjoying one of those cinnamon buns. Show us what you have. I want to see.
So,
and I'm sure the viewers also want to see.
And that's also the thing when you try to innovate new products you give to your customer. That's the learning phase. If you have a product, you give it out, so you're not making any profit, but the feedback that you get from that, you can definitely build up. So with a complement of a coffee, people tend to or like if I can say that, a business can get started on a inconvenience. So if there's a hassle, there's a business. So coming up winter, it's always challenging, but coming up winter, cinnamon rolls. I don't know if you ever walk into a mall and
That smell.
there's a cinnamon bun trademark business. That smell you can't resist. So they also have a very good business model, which made me realize that everyone that smells a cinnamon roll, you can't resist. You have to have it. It's nice to have, but it's a hassle to bake because you have to make the dough, you have to let it rise, roll it. It's a big hassle. So it created the opportunity to think of a product where I take the hassle. I create the cinnamon roll, pre-rolled, frozen, pre-frozen, so you can take it out, let it defrost, rise, and put it in the oven.
Fantastic.
So you have absolutely no hassle. You put it in your tray, put it in the oven. You can have different sizes. It's really just to open and bake. So this is the new business I'm looking into. It's a cinnamon roll, pre-frozen cinnamon rolls for the winter, so you can buy them frozen and bake it at home.
Fantastic.
This is really just to look into the different venture of a business, because what I'm doing now is a retail, direct to consumer, so it's a business to consumer. With the cinnamon rolls, it's called Cinna Winks. This is more business to business. So if I look into the supply chain into other coffee shops, so I can use this product as a venue into a different coffee shop.
Amazing.
So
and you've got different sizes. There's 6, 2, and 1.
yeah,
And in delivering, as you said, in delivering this to other coffee shops, people who are interested can make contact with you. We'll put your contact details on there if they're interested. This is by no means a marketing podcast. It's just, I find it very interesting. I've had one of these with ice cream on it, guys, and it's superb. I've got that weakness, to taste good things, but it's really something to die for. Very, very nice. So I wish you luck with this.
Thank you.
I know it's going to be a success. It's well packaged. You can see that the concept is good. I'm sure it's going to bring you much success, and I want to bless you with that it does bring you great success, and hopefully some of our viewers are interested in making business out of this. So let's share it.
It will also hopefully give the restaurant or the coffee or the cafe another venture into their business, because they don't have to carry any risks like I do with the gelato. They can do with the cinnamon rolls, where they don't have to have the hassle, but it's an extra product they can offer their customers.
Correct, and they don't have to reinvent the wheel like you've done with the ice cream, but just shows that there's continuous learning and understanding, and I can see you're very excited about this. So
Yes.
I'm happy that you've brought us a new product, and may there be many more. And which leaves us with just thank yous. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your life story.
Thanks for
Free
the
range
opportunity.
excellence is all about that we talk to people of all walks of life and get to understand and learn from their journey. What an exciting journey you've had so far, and very interesting to hear what you've achieved, and well done with your success. That's what free range excellence is all about. The last thing that we have to do is the egg roulette. So now you get a chance to take revenge on me.
Oh yes.
You've selected this egg closest to you, so let's see. Are you nervous to break this thing against my head?
It
I'm not going to
depends.
eat you back.
Apparently,
Just so-
it can hold the weight of a adult.
So we'll see how it goes, people. And thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Again, it's been an honor to speak to yourselves, and you are the witnesses of somebody that's going to break, hopefully, my luck. It's going to be a fresh, not a fresh egg. Go for it. Hard.
Yeah.
You have to eat it hard.
Really hard.
Yeah. Oh yes, I see.
Oh boy. I'm
All right.
sorry about
No,
that.
no worries. Thank you.
Needed to.
It's nice.
use
It's
that
nice.
one.
That's exactly what it's all about. It's so absurd that we have this egg roulette. It's got nothing to do with business, but everything. Because in business, sometimes you just have to make decisions. You don't always have the luxury to analyze, etc. And sometimes you just have to go for it. So
Just
well
go
done
for
for
it.
going for it. It's a bit of a
Right
mess
on.
here, but that's the idea. At least you've taken revenge. Thank you for coming, my friend.
Thank you,
It's been
dear.
nice.
Thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
Cheerio.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.